So Samsung's fresh new Galaxy S21 flagship phone isn't anywhere near as premium as that Plus or Ultra model. Samsung's definitely held back quite a lot of the Billy Big specs and features for those top-end versions. At least as a result, the Galaxy S21 isn't too horrendously expensive, unlike that Ultra model, although at 769 quid it ain't exactly super affordable either. Now, one worthy alternative to the S21 is Google's Pixel 5. Again, it doesn't boast the most premium specs and features around, but at 599 quid it is one of the most affordable flagships out there. So I'm going to compare them side by side for camera performance, battery life, all that good stuff to see which one might be best for you. And for more on the latest greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now stick these two smartphones side by side like this, and Samsung's Galaxy S21 looks like a bit of a unit in comparison to the Pixel 5, whereas actually it's refreshingly compact at just 6.2 inches. But the Pixel is even more pleasing in the hand, so to speak, at a perfect 6 inches. Great news for stub-fingered buggers like me. As you can see, both these flagship phones sport pretty skinny bezels surrounding those displays. The only other really distinctive feature besides the size is the fact that you got the selfie cutout right in the middle here on the Galaxy S21, the Infinity O display as Samsung dramatically terms it, whereas it's kind of wedged away in the corner here on the Pixel 5 and a little bit fatter as well. Now let's flip these bad boys over and check out that arse end. Now both of these flagship phones sport a matte back rather than a glossy one. That means they're really good at hiding greasy prints when you happen to pick them up. These phones are actually constructed from very different materials. The Pixel 5 is made from aluminium, although you wouldn't know it to feel it. It's got quite a rough texture to it. Certainly doesn't feel metallic. It actually, to be perfectly honest, feels more like cardboard. And meanwhile, the Samsung Galaxy S21 uses a hybrid blend of glass and plastic, which Samsung has rather charmingly titled Glastic. And this has a much smoother texture compared with the Pixel 5, definitely feels rather nice against the palm. And both the Pixel 5 and the Galaxy S21 are proper hard nuts as well. On the Pixel 5 you've got a Gorilla Glass 6 coating for that display, that proves perfectly hardy, nice and scratch resistant, but that actually gets an upgrade here on the Galaxy S21 to Gorilla Glass Victus, and that's just as scratch resistant, but it's also more drop proof as well. It can handle drops of up to 2 meters in lab conditions according to Corning. And both phones are fully water resistant as well. You've got an IPX8 rating here on the Pixel 5, which means it's not dust resistant, just water resistant. In the case of the S21 it's IP68, so it's dust resistant as well as water resistant. Basically both can be submerged in water for around half an hour or so. As for your colour choices, well, on the Pixel 5 it's sadly rather limited. You've got this boring black, otherwise there's also Google's Sage Green model, which to be honest looks a bit like the inside of my toilet bowl after I downed a couple dozen apple sours the night before. As for the Galaxy S21, well, this is the new hero colour, the Phantom Violet, which is kind of purpley, kind of blue, depending on how the light is striking it, and it is rather easy on the eye. Otherwise, you don't like that, you've also got the option of pink, white or black, so a bit more choice compared with the Pixel 5. Now when you want to unlock your smartphone, here's the Galaxy S21, you've actually got the scanner built into that display. It's an ultrasonic scanner, so it takes a 3D image of your print, and so far on the S21, touch wood, seems nice and reliable and nice and accurate and pretty swift as well. On the Pixel 5 it's actually a physical fingerprint sensor built into the back here, and I've got to say I do prefer a physical fingerprint sensor to an in-display one. I just find them more reliable in general. Again, on the Pixel 5 it's nice and quick. Your finger just naturally falls onto that sensor when you pick up the phone, so again, nice and comfortable, easy to use. And to back up the fingerprint sensor here on the Galaxy S21, you also have face recognition. If you just tap that power button or lift to wake, then it will scan for your mug and hopefully recognize you as well. I have had some issues with the S21, occasionally not recognize me if the lighting isn't particularly great, but on the whole it's nice to have it as an alternative. And that's a feature that you do not get on the Google Pixel 5. Now even though both of these phones are Android blowers, it's a very different software setup on both. You get a stock version of Android 11 here on the Google Pixel phone, whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S21, Samsung has slathered its own One UI version 3.1 over the top. One of the advantages of going with the Google Pixel 5 is that Google guarantees 3 years of OS updates and security updates with its flagship smartphones. The Galaxy S21 should be well supported in that area as well, though you'd expect at least a couple of years of OS and security updates. And certainly here on the Galaxy S21 you get lots of bonus features that you do not get on the standard Pixel. For instance, you get a lot more customization. You've also got a proper dedicated one-handed mode, which is quite helpful if you're using an app with lots of stuff up towards the top. You haven't constantly stretch up to reach. That's something that you don't get on the Pixel, though the Pixel and the S21 also both allow you to drag down the notifications bar like so. And you've also got the likes of Samsung DeX here on the S21 as well, which allows you to basically turn your smartphone into a makeshift computer when you're on the road. But the problem with Samsung Galaxy smartphones is that you also get a massive duplicate duplication of tons of features that you already get in Android. So for instance, you've got the Bixby Assistant here on the Samsung, as well as the Google Assistant, which of course you already have in Android. If you dive on into the apps, you've got tons of Samsung apps like a web browser on top of Google Chrome. You've got Samsung Pay on top of Google Pay. You've got the Galaxy Shop on top of the Play Store. So while I really like some of the extra features you get in One UI, I do prefer just the leanness of stock Android. And as you'd expect, both Google and Samsung take security very, very seriously indeed. So for instance, on the Pixel 5 smartphone, you've got that separate Titan M chip where all of your important data is encrypted and securely stored. In the case of the Galaxy S21, of course, Samsung with its Galaxy smartphones always brings that Knox security suite, which once again offers top-level encryption for all of your privates. For your storage, well, the Pixel 5 comes with 128GB. That's your only choice. Here on the Galaxy S21, you've got 128 gigs base. Otherwise, if you throw a bit more cash at Samsung, you can upgrade to 256 gigs. However, neither phone offers micro SD memory card support. In the case of the Pixel 5, you've only got a single SIM slot as well, compared with the dual SIM slot on the Galaxy S21, although both also offer the option of installing an eSIM. Right, so let's move on to the screen tech. And as I mentioned before, not much difference between the screen sizes here. You've got the 6-inch Pixel 5 versus the 6.2-inch Galaxy S21, both with a selfie cutout, although it's slightly more intrusive in the S21, I think. Despite the fact it's a smaller cutout, it is centrally positioned instead of shunted away into a corner. And as these are premium flagship phones, you get an OLED display with both, and you've got customizable color output as well, so you can have bold, vivid hues or go for more natural looking visuals no matter your choice. That said, Samsung's Galaxy S21 sports a dynamic AMOLED screen which boasts more accurate color reproduction and sharper contrast compared with that Pixel 5. That said, the visuals on the Pixel is still absolutely gorgeous for a bit of Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever you want. You've got a full HD Plus resolution on both of these phones as well, so a nice crisp detail. And naturally, you do have that HDR support on both of these smartphones as well, in the likes of Netflix, so you can get a bit of that on the go. And before we leave the displays as well, as I mentioned before, you've got lots of customization you can do with either of these smartphones. You've got the likes of the night lights, the eye comfort shield, as Samsung calls it with its One UI. We've also got motion smoothness on the Galaxy S21 as well, and smooth display here on the Pixel 5. And this feature basically does the same on both. It boosts the refresh rate up from the standard 60Hz to 120Hz in the case of the S21 and 90Hz in the case of the Pixel 5, just to make everything nice and smooth when you're flicking about, and of course in supported apps as well. And I absolutely adore that fast refresh action on smartphone displays. Just that silky smoothness gives you the impression that the performance is just so good. And it's on pretty much every smartphone now, barring like the really expensive iPhones still for some reason. And yeah, the Pixel's display is technically inferior to the S21's in that it's a 90Hz refresh instead of 120Hz, but to my eyes they looked just the same. Smoother than a baby's butt covered in marmalade or something. That's a bit weird actually. As for the audio, it's a stereo speaker setup here on the Galaxy S21. That top earpiece is used for the audio as well as the bottom mounted speaker. Let's just pump up the volume. Now first up, I've got to say the design here is kind of hit and miss. And now let's... Okay, you guys didn't see nothing, right? So that's the S21, pretty good, a little bit tinny on those top volumes, but absolutely fine for just watching video or whatever. Now the Pixel 5 is technically a stereo speaker setup as well, but to be perfectly frank, that earpiece speaker has about as much puff as an asthmatic guppy. So let's just pump that up as well. It works really well as well, even in quite dark environments. So definitely even more tinny noticeably on that top volume, and if you actually cover this bottom speaker, you'll notice that the output's really muffled. So movies and pics look plenty sharp with vibrant enough colour reproduction to make those visuals. It's like watching YouTube underwater or something. And even more annoying is the fact that you don't get a headphone jack on either the Pixel 5 or the Samsung Galaxy S21, so it's Bluetooth or dongles all the way. Thankfully the Bluetooth connectivity has been absolutely fine connecting to speakers, headphones, whatever. So now onto the subject of performance, and Samsung has stuffed its very own fresh new 5nm Snapdragon Exynos 2100 chipset into the Galaxy S21, whereas Google decided to go with the more modest Snapdragon 765G chipset and mid-range Qualcomm SoC, and in both cases that's backed by 8 gigs of RAM. Now the Galaxy S21 is actually the first time we've had a chance to test out that Exynos 2100 chipset, and so far it doesn't seem to be quite as strong as the Snapdragon 888 according to the early benchmarking of Qualcomm's chipset, but it's definitely beaten the 765G in all of my tests. As you can see here in good old Geekbench, it is routinely beaten in the single core and the multi-core results. So if you're quite a demanding user who wants a smartphone to see them through the long haul, then the S21 is probably going to turn you on a lot more than the Pixel 5. That said, I found that the everyday use here on the Google Pixel 5 is absolutely fine. It runs buttery smooth at all times, helped along by the fact that it's that stock version of Android. You got that 8 gigs of RAM in backup as well, so your apps load up basically instantly. Everything's nice and smooth. I haven't seen any judders or anything going on. And yes, you can happily get gaming on the Pixel 5 as well, with the likes of Call of Duty, PUBG, whatever you're into. The likes of Call of Duty plays super smooth. Perfect frame rate, again on those top detail settings, no worries. That said, here on the Galaxy S21 you do have that game booster feature which you can call up onto the screen at any point with a quick tap in that notifications bar, and this has got the likes of the priority mode which can basically block all your notifications and all of that bad stuff so you can actually stay focused on the game. And that's a feature that you do not have with stock Android here on the Google Pixel 5. As for the screen response rate and everything, that's all perfect for gaming on both of these handsets as well. You got that nice flat finish as well, no curvy edges or anything to get in the way of those touch controls. And with both of those smartphones, you've got an integrated 5G modem. It's actually built into that SoC. So full 5G support, just sub 6 of course here in the UK. And like most flagship phones these days, you've also got a tasty bit of Wi-Fi 6 support if you've already updated your router. Now we've got to talk about the battery tech, and it's a 4000 mAh battery in both of these flagships. Not the biggest capacity cells in the world, of course that's more forgivable with the Pixel 5 because it is quite a dinky handset. But even though it's the same size of battery in both of these bros, I did find that the Galaxy S21 did struggle a little bit more than the Pixel 5 to actually keep me going all day long. Generally I was running out of battery around sort of the 10 PM mark of each evening, compared with the Pixel which generally lasted me until I was all tucked up nice and cozy in my Jimmy Jams. And to further emphasize this, I decided to run a side-by-side battery test, streaming the same video on both of these smartphones, same screen brightness and everything. I already ripped out the SIM card from the S21 just to make sure it wasn't also burning extra juice connecting to mobile data or anything. And sure enough, the results were different. I found that the Galaxy S21 tended to lose about 10% battery every hour, so it would go for about 10 full hours of video streaming on a full charge. The Pixel 5 did perform better in this test, although not a huge amount better. It drained at around the rate of 9% battery per hour, so it offers about an extra hour and a half-ish overall. Unfortunately, when it comes to recharging, neither of these flagship phones particularly impresses. They're about as swift as me after 10 pints and a doner and chips. You got 18-watt charging on the Pixel 5, and that's slightly improved by the Galaxy S21, which offers 25-watt wide charging. They don't actually get the charger bundled in the box anymore. They've done a full-on Apple with that one. Tight gits. But the good news is that both the Pixel 5 and the Galaxy S21 do support wireless charging, so you can get a bit of that on the go if you've got a wireless charging pad. And you've also got reverse wireless charging support as well if you need to power up one of your accessories like a smartwatch or a pair of true wireless earbuds, for instance, if they run out of battery while you're on the go. Now let's finish up this mighty Samsung Galaxy S21 versus Google Pixel 5 comparison with a squint at that rear camera tech. And what you get here on the Galaxy S21 is a triple lens setup compared with a dual lens setup on the Pixel. Now that primary sensor on both the S21 and the Pixel is a 12 megapixel effort with optical image stabilization built in, and both produce great looking photos whatever the conditions. The Pixel did tend to capture finer details up close however, and Google also offers dual level brightness controls for HDR shots, so it's definitely more flexible when shooting against bright skies and the like. Colour capture is ever so slightly more natural on the Pixel, but the Galaxy S21 is super close while also delivering an option to boost those colours with the Scene Optimizer feature. And in low light conditions, the S21 consistently performed better in the auto mode, but switch to the night mode on both of these phones and it is a lot closer, with the Pixel 5 often capturing more accurate tones. Now Samsung's flagship also serves up a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, while the Pixel 5 boosts that megapixel count to 16, but the results are very similar with both, and it's good to have that extra flexibility when needed. Now the Pixel 5 ends there with the lenses, but the Galaxy S21 also has a 64 megapixel telephoto lens that doesn't actually offer much in the way of actual optical zoom. It mostly just crops into a high megapixel image. All the same, the Pixel tops off at 6 times digital zoom, which looks frankly crap, while the S21 only starts to struggle once you get to around the sort of the 8 to 10 times level, but it can go all the way up to 30 times zoom if you want a photo that looks about as appealing as a Brussels sprout sandwich. Now you do also get an arseload of extra bonus camera modes on both of these smartphones. Some of them I've already touched on, the likes of the night mode, and of course you've got a portrait mode there for adding that bokeh style background effect as well. Here on the Pixel you're a lot more limited compared with the Galaxy though, which goes absolutely crazy easy with its additional features. Certainly if you know your way around a camera and you want full-on professional controls, then the Pro mode is definitely going to baste your turkey rather well. You've got the likes of the white balance controls, ISO level, shutter speed. And using this mode, you can shoot in full-on RAW format and everything good stuff. And if you find that you're always indecisive about whether you should be shooting photos or videos at any given moment, well, Samsung's exclusive single take feature is definitely an absolute winner. You'll probably adore it. What this does is captures lots of little clips and photos all at the same time, so you can basically take your pick on what you want to keep. My favourite of the pair when it comes to shooting home movies as well is definitely the Galaxy S21. The Pixel 5 does a perfectly fine job. You can shoot 4K resolution footage all the way up to 60 frames per second. And on the Galaxy S21 you can also shoot 4K at 30 or 60 frames per second, otherwise you can shoot all the way up to 8K resolution at 24 FPS as well. And then you can take screenshots basically from that 8K video, really nice high-res photos after the fact. You've also got the auto mode on full HD resolution, which then basically dynamically changes from 30 to 60 FPS based on how much motion is going on in the scene. You've also got a Pro Video mode similar to the Pro Photo mode if you want to be tweaking exact elements while you're actually shooting, and the fresh new Director's View as well, which allows you to capture images with both the selfie camera and all three rear cameras. You can switch between those three rears so to get exactly the kind of shot that you really need. And let's finish up this comparison with a look at the selfie cam tech, because you've got a 10 megapixel selfie snapper here on the Galaxy S21 stuck right there in the center, and that's downgraded slightly to an 8 megapixel effort on the Pixel 5. But you know what, both are absolutely fine again for fairly detailed snaps no matter what kind of conditions you're shooting in. You've got the usual portrait mode, smart, all of that good stuff, and yeah, if you're an Instagram fan, either will definitely do you nicely. So that in a nutshell is how Samsung's Galaxy S21 stacks up against Google's Pixel 5, two very different flagship smartphones, even though they're both Android 11. The performance, the battery life, the camera tech, they're different in pretty much every way, to be honest. So it'd be great to hear from you guys. Which one is your own personal pick? Which one's your own favorite? It'd be great to hear from you down below in the comments. Please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest greatest tech. My full Pixel 5 review is live right now. My S21 will be following very shortly indeed. And have yourselves a lovely rest of the week. Cheers, everyone. Love you.